Hey, it's a Friday evening. Getting late, gonna get dark soon, but before it does, I just want to come out by the water and make this one video. And that is a tree. That tall lump of ice there is a tree. Right there. Yeah, that's a tree. And the icicles that have formed on it from the wave action before the bay froze over completely caused that huge, massive icicles to form on that tree. And those icicles formed in a non-random fashion, but they were also not designed. They are an undesigned, non-random pattern determined by everything from gravity to temperature to wave frequency to wind speed and wind direction, all contributing to the way those icicles shaped themselves. And of course, the way the branches sit, the way the branches bend under the weight of the ice, changes the way that the icicles form. All these are determinate factors, which mean that this is not a completely random thing. That is not completely random. It is non-random, but it's also not designed. It is not a designed thing. Nobody went out and sculpted that. Nobody planned it out. Nobody thought about how it would look. Instead, it just happened naturally. Unplanned, undesigned, and non-random. Something to think about. Non-random, undesigned. Hey, who knew? I mean, besides everybody. Which brings us to evolution. Again, non-random, undesigned. Life evolves. It evolves in non-random ways. There are random factors, but predominantly it is the determinant, the non-random determinants that decide the direction of evolution. Things like predation, things like food availability, mate availability, competition for space, environmental conditions, weather, temperature, climate, terrain, and more recently, in the last few thousand years, direct human intervention, human-directed breeding for selected traits, because humans have become a driver of evolution in many species, to the point where some species can no longer function without humans. Domestic cattle, domestic sheep, domestic dogs are all the product of human genetic interference, evolution driven by human action, non-random. Now, the mutations are random. Mutations are always going to be random. But the selective pressures, the determinants that act on those mutations are never random. They are the non-random aspect. That was not designed. And quite honestly, neither was a Charolais cow. Both are the product of non-random actions taking place. Non-random. That's just how things work. Processes are not either completely random or completely designed. There's plenty of room for non-random, undesigned processes. Determinate factors that have no conscious interference by any intelligent actor. These exist. They exist in the real world and are readily observable everywhere you go. The way that a rock slide, a rock fall, forms a pile of debris on the beach. This is not a matter of design. Nobody consciously decided where those rocks were going to land. Nobody decided where the pebbles washed up on this beach were going to be set. But there are patterns. There are recognizable patterns. The bigger rocks at the bottom, the smaller rocks at the top. These are non-random factors. And they're an important part of natural processes. This pebble beach, the big rocks are close to the water, the smaller rocks are further up, and the sand is further up still. Because the way the waves work, the big rocks are only pushed up so far. The little rocks are pushed up further. The smaller rocks are pushed up even further, the fine gravel, and then way up there is the sand. That's how waves non-randomly sort beaches. Wave action. Waves are a non-random force. They make a beach form a pattern of increasingly small stones the further up you go. Non-random pattern in nature with no conscious interference. Nobody thought to themselves, I want to put the pebbles, the bigger rocks at the water's edge and the smaller ones further up. Nobody did that. It was entirely done by wave action. The waves are random, but how they affect the beach is non-random. It is determinate. And it's determined by gravity, by the size of the waves, the frequency of the waves, etc., etc., etc. All these determinant factors that decide how the beach is going to be put together. And yet there's no intelligence to this. Instead, it is a natural process with no consciousness, no awareness, and no intent. A rock and pebble beach forms a pattern that has no conscious intent. Something to think about. Welcome to the beach.